Hi, it's Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we have a book to read for you. Today, book is The Selfish Giant from 1975. So let's get started. Long ago, in a faraway land, there was a mean giant who had a very beautiful garden in front of his castle. One day, the giant went away, and while he was gone, the young children of the neighborhood played in the giant garden. It was a lovely garden with soft green grass. There were flowers of every color and shape that filled the air with the most wonderful fragrance. There were 12 peach trees that in the springtime blossomed into delicate pink and purple flowers. In the autumn bore rich, ripe fruits. The birds sat in the tree and sung so sweetly that the children used to stop their games just to listen to them. How happy we are here, and how nicely the birds sing to us. After some time, the giant returned. He had been off to visit his friend, the ogre, for 7 years. He finally decided to return to his castle, and when he saw the children playing in his garden, he became angry. What are you doing here? This is my garden. Get out, all of you. Go away. Nobody can play in this garden but me. The frightened children ran away. The selfish giant built a high wall around his garden and put up a large sign which read, Children keep out. Now the poor children had nowhere to play. The road was dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not want to play there. Then they wandered around the wall of the garden and wished that they could come inside and play once again. It was a long, cold winter that year, and the children stayed in their houses. Then springtime came, and all over the country the flower blossomed and the bird returned. But in the garden of the selfish giant, it was still winter. There were no birds to sing in his garden because there were no children there, and the trees didn't blossom. Once a beautiful flower put its head out from the grass, but when it saw the sign that said Children keep out, it was so sorry for the children that it slipped back under the ground and went to sleep. The only people who were pleased to see the sign was the snow and the frost. Spring had forgotten this garden, so we will live here all year long. The snow covered up all the grass with his great white cloak, and then the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to come visit them. He was wrapped in fur. Then he roared around the garden all day long. What a delightful place, this is. We must act the hell to join us. And so they did, and the hell came to the garden every day for 3 hours. He rattled on the roof of all the giant house until he had broken all the slates. He was dressed in gray, and his breath was like ice. Every day the selfish giant looked out his window. I cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming. I hope there will be a change in the weather. But spring never came, nor the summer, nor autumn. The autumn gave golden fruits to every garden, but to the selfish giant garden she gave nothing. He is too selfish, and without the children in his garden, it will always be winter there. One morning, the giant awoke to some lovely music outside his window. When he looked out the window, all he saw was a small bird singing in a tree. He had not heard a bird sing in so long that to him it was the most beautiful music in the world. Then hell had stopped dancing over his head, and the north wind had stopped roaring. The giant put his head out the window, and the most wonderful fragrance came to him. Spring had come at last. He looked around his garden and saw the most wonderful sight. There, a little hole in the wall, the children had creeped in and was sitting in the branches of the trees. In every tree that he could see, there was little children, and the tree was so happy to the children back in them that they covered themselves with blossom. The bird was flying above and singing, and the flower was looking up through the green grass and laughing, but in one corner of the garden it was still winter. There was one little boy who was too small to climb the tree. The tree bent down as far as it could go, but it was not low enough for the little boy to climb up. The poor tree was so covered with frost and snow, and the north wind was blowing her branches around, the little boy began to cry. Seeing this, the giant's heart began to melt. How sheltered I had been. Now I know why spring would not come here. I will help the poor little boy into the tree. He was really very sorry for what he had done, and wanted to tell the children so. He creeped down the stairs and opened the front door, but when the children saw him, they became frightened and ran from the garden. Suddenly it became winter again. The little boy, however, did not run, for his eyes was so full of tears that he did not see the giant coming. The giant took him gently in his arms and placed him in the tree. Then the tree blossomed at once, and the bird came and sung in the branches. The little boy stopped crying. He flung his arm over the giant's neck and gave him a kiss. When the other children saw the giant was not wicked anymore, they came back into the garden, and with them came spring. The giant smiled as he spoke. It is your garden now from this day on. You should play in my garden whenever you like. I will knock down the wall. All day long they played in the garden. When evening came and it was time to bid the giant goodbye, the giant was very concerned. But where is the little boy I left in the tree? The children all looked at each other. We did not know. He did not say where he lives, and you must never see him. We had never seen him before. You must tell him to come tomorrow, for I would like to see him. Every afternoon, when school was over, the children came and played with the giant in the garden. But when the little boy of whom the giant was so fond never returned, the giant became very sad. Years went on, and the giant grew old, feeble. He could not play with the children anymore, but sat in a large chair watching them scamper about his garden. I have many beautiful flowers, but the children are the most beautiful flowers of all. One winter morning, he looked out his window. As he was dressing, he did not hate winter now, for he knew that it was merely the spring asleep, and that the flowers was resting. Suddenly he rubbed his eyes and looked in the wonders at the farthest corner of the garden. There was a tree with golden branches and silver fruit. Underneath stood the little boy he had loved. The giant ran down the stairs and out into the garden. He ran across the grass with excitement and went to the child. Where have you been? Had anyone harmed you? Tell me, I will take my sword and slay them. The children smiled at the giant. No, nobody had harmed me. A strange awe came over the giant, and he kneeled before the little boy. The child smiled at the giant and kissed him as he had before. You let me play in your garden once. Today you should come with me to my garden, which is paradise. Tears of joy were rolling down the giant's cheeks, and he put the little boy on his shoulder. He turned to see a stairway that ascended into the clouds, and as he began to climb, he smiled because he knew the happiness that awaited him in paradise. So that was The Shellfish Giant for 1975. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, and have a groovy day with another video coming out real soon.